But don't you be fooled into thinking that what you're seeing does represent the inevitable, unavoidable fact for everyone, so that you don't fall heir to that, and so that you don't contribute to others falling heir to it by your own ignorant belief that there is no other choice. Re-education is needed. All that we have been talking about this weekend is re-education. Seeing things in a new way that is in harmony with reality, truly reality. So that you are not introducing into your lives, by virtue of your thoughts, pictures and expectations that you will ultimately make commitment to and die from, or suffer from, you see. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I also am wondering, spiritually, what's happening when they're mentally in between stage? That's...
Not very much. There's not very much more going on inside than what you see going on the outside. But they're safe. And they will shortly, or before too long, be in a position where they can change their mind and re-embrace themselves more fully. I am referring to after they pass on.
Yes.
But they are not lost souls. Their soul is not becoming lost. It's just held in trust until they arrive at a point of wanting to engage it again.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Hands? In the back? Yes.
Hi, Raj.
Good afternoon.
And thank you for taking my question.
You are welcome.
Hold on a minute. Sorry. I want to talk about staying on the beam and the signs of knowing that's what's happening. And what's happening in my life, what I'm experiencing, is the more that I get into my peace, which means leaning more into trust in the unknown, the more curious I become about recognizing the movement of God in my life and how to tell the difference between the ego motivating and the actual movement itself, which I'm seeing to be by invitation and by noticing. Like something will energize my attention, or I will be invited. A situation, a door will open, someone will ask, and that seems to be the predominant way it is happening, and I'd like you to comment about that, if you would.
very simple. Being on the beam or experiencing the movement of God will, in spite of any ego fears you have, be experienced with a groundedness and a depth and a stability that you will feel as something that it's utterly appropriate for you to put your energy behind. In other words, you will, in peace and calmness, feel no reluctance to act on it, in spite of the fact that simultaneously your ego may be screaming its head off, saying, this is idiotic, this is stupid, this is unintelligent, this is unwise, don't do it. There is always a tone to the beam when you're on it. And the tone is felt deeply in you. You could say it is felt as fearlessness. And I'm not talking about confidence. I'm talking about fearlessness. In the absence of fear, it's easy to take a step. Confidence can override fear. In other words, confidence can gear you up to take a step that it's not easy to take. You understand what I mean? But when you are on the beam, there is a deep fearlessness that is experienced that allows you to take the step with ease and without doubt interfering. So always feel for the tone.
Okay, so there would be an absence of anxiety?
No. It is possible that there would be anxiety along with it because your ego is not going to shut up.
Oh, right. Okay.
But side by side with the anxiety will be a peace and a fearlessness accompanying the new step that you are to take, that you are experiencing because you are on the beam.
Can I give an example that I went through recently?
You may.
Well, I happen to love cars, as you well know. And I had a big, wonderful car that I really wanted all my life, and I noticed it started to become a liability, meaning it didn't serve me. But I had a lot of money invested in it, and I really didn't want to give it up. I was kind of in between the, anxiety about it. But I knew I didn't want to have something anymore that didn't serve me. And as a result, a new car came that was totally wonderful. But it took courage to go through this because my ego had this whole epiphany of all the money I've put into it and I'm going to lose and yada yada.
Indeed.
And I haven't been happier. I mean, I'm just thrilled. So I'm trying, is that kind of an example that you're talking about?
If you will think back to the experience while your ego was giving you this epiphany, on the other hand, you were feeling the rightness of the step,
Yeah.
and there was no fear around it.
Exactly.
The tone was there.
Exactly. Okay.
Yes.
I feel like we're going into new territory of being and how to feel our way along with this.
Yes.
And I just wanted to have some signposts that are recognizable.
Yes.
And I appreciate it. Thank you.
You are welcome. Just a moment. Okay, hands. The gentleman right back here, yes.
Thank you, Raj.
You are welcome.
About a year and a half ago, I asked a question about a situation, and you told me that when God says sit down, you sit down and you be quiet and you wait for God to stand up, tell you to stand up. So I don't know whether I'm supposed to be standing up, but I don't know whether I'm doing what I should be doing. I have a feeling that I should be doing something, and I'm not doing it, and I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, that's one of the most wonderful ploys the ego has, to suggest to all of you, there's something you are not doing that you should be doing. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You see. Oh, that's a real hooker, isn't it? Because, of course, if it's something that you should be doing that you aren't doing, then you may be guilty, because what you should be doing is really needed. Blah, blah, blah. You just tell the ego that when it can tell you what it is you're supposed to be doing, come back and you'll talk to it. And drop it. Drop it. That's a totally unsatisfactory use of your mind.
Thank you.
This is the way the ego works. It makes suggestions, and the suggestions are insinuations. And they're always vague. You feel uneasy. Do you feel that undercurrent? And it slowly upsets you, and you don't know why. Oh, but there must be a reason. Like Paul wondered whether the reason we were waiting at the beginning was because he wasn't as centered as he ought to be. There must be a reason, and the reason is something wrong with you. It suggests and insinuates, but never comes right out and tells you. God will come right out and tell you. Your guide will come right out and tell you. Life will come right out and tell you. But when you're met with these nasty little insinuations that hook you into feeling uneasy, uncomfortable, that you're unfulfilled because you're not fulfilling something, but there's no way to find out what it is.
Well,
know that something is mind-effing you, okay? Paul won't say the word. You have enough gumption and enough sense not to let yourself be mind-effed, right?
I hope so.
If you know it's happening, you don't put up with it.
Right.
So I'm telling you it's happening when that happens,
Okay.
so that you can shut it up and get on with what is obvious to you. What isn't hidden just outside your sight. He still won't say the word.
Thank you, Raj.
Any gentler word wouldn't wouldn't elicit in you the integrity that would cause you to stand up against this malicious attempt to undermine your peace. And so I use words that work, not words that are socially proper. But Paul won't.
Well, I will not be mind-fucked.
Paul says, thank you. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Hands. Over here.
This isn't about food. The question's not about food, but it's sort of about nourishment in the sense of, like when you were talking, or making reference to the soap bubble, the sense I get is that the soap bubble, the ego sense of self, deprives your nourishment. It makes it harder for the love to flow in and flow out.
Well, it provides a boundary that makes there an inflow and an outflow as a potential, even though there doesn't seem to be much transfer in or out. Ultimately, without the bubble, there's no inflow or outflow because wholeness is being experienced and it doesn't have to flow anywhere but continue.
Well, that's what I was wondering. So you've used the image of a soap bubble as ego sense, and in a more absolute sense, there's only the one infinite, being infinitely individuated. And I think you've made reference to the specific individuality rather than being a soap bubble, more as a light body. Or how would you describe specific individuality which wasn't being a soap bubble?
Again, these images cannot be absolute, but I know that you have seen in fairs and shops in tourist towns these crystal balls that have hundreds of facets on them. If you would imagine if you would imagine the soap bubble, where there seems to be an inside and an outside, and you pop the bubble so that the outside and inside join and it's an infinite oneness. If you would take that infinite oneness and imagine that it is one of these multifaceted crystal balls, then if you were to imagine that each of the facets constituted the specificness of God, of the whole, that's called you, and another facet is the specificness of God called
Michael.
Michael. Give me a hug. And then you imagine that as an ego sense of self, the only way the facet that is you can speak to the facet that is Michael is from the outside, bridging the ridge that separates you. And then you take an interior look at the ball. You find that the facet that is you and the facet that is him is connected to the whole interior of the ball. And that in actuality, the interior of the ball is your individuality. And the interior of the ball is Michael's. Well, I'm going to put it this way. The interior of the ball is yourself, with a capital S. And the interior of the ball is Michael's capital S self. So now you can see that at one and the same time, you are indivisibly one with each other, and yet you are specifically different from each other by virtue of the facet that has its shape that is not the same shape as Michael's shape, if you will. When you wake up, you make the shift from experiencing yourself as the surface of the facet, which must communicate around the outside of the ball, to the interior experience, where the oneness of you is the only experience available to you. And as I said yesterday, when that shift occurs, the individual facets don't disappear, but it's so much more meaningful to experience your inseparable oneness as the one that is, that you lose fascination with the facets. Now, the fact is that this crystal, if you will, this multifaceted crystal, is God. And you are God expressed. So your unity with Michael is experienced, and your unity with God is experienced. Now, we can go a step further, and it becomes really difficult to convey this without creating misperceptions that I don't want you to ultimately be confused by. But obviously, a ball is finite. It has limits. And so what I have referred to as the facets on the ball for purposes of describing how two different experiences can seem to be experienced depending upon whether you're looking at yourself from the outside of the facet or the inside of the facet. The fact is that these specificnesses of God that identifies you and you and everyone else are in movement and can pass through each other. They are not solid. They are what could be called bodies of light. And so you have the ability to experience your inseparable oneness with each other in terms of the whole that we had described as the interior of the ball. But you also have the ability to experience each other as bodies of light. There's color to this body of light, forever fluctuating in hues that I can't describe, but you would stand in awe of them if you could see them while you're still looking from a limited frame of mind. And when they pass through each other, there is another experience of oneness that is of a different kind, but doesn't detract in any way from the, if I may put it this way, the whole experience of oneness. Have I more than answered your question?
Mm-hmm.
He's not through.
I think I just want to know more about the love, right? I want to feel that more.
You know what? I do not mean this as a cliffhanger or a teaser, but you're going to have to ask me that question next month when you return. I will be more than happy to amplify on it at that time. And I will allow you to have another question that you would have used for next month as well.
Excellent. Can I ask a quick one? Should I become vegetarian again? I was for a long time, 20 years. I started feeling hungry.
So we're back to nourishment. No. It would be a useless shift. And
Thank
you
you.
weren't meant to be hungry. Okay. You are welcome.